Okay. So for those of you who have been here before, these rules of the road will seem familiar, but go ahead and please stay muted unless you have a question. Actually, we're going to go ahead and stay muted the whole entire time. I'm going to have you, we will have some good Q&A questions at the end. So if you have any questions, something that you're interested in asking our panelists, our fantastic panelists today, go ahead and leave those in the chat. So unless you're one of our panelists, go ahead and leave that on mute today for our session. And we're going to be recording this for training purposes. So if you do not want to be on camera, make sure you go ahead and turn off your video cameras right now. And fantastic. So I want to give a really big welcome to, I mentioned we have some fantastic panelists, Tara Swenson with Rick Steves Europe. Tara, give them a wave. Fantastic. Jeremy West with Holiday Vacations. Give him a wave, Jeremy. There we go. Tanya Wolf with Wolf Adventures and Tours. Karen Lewis with Land Sea Adventures. Great. And Linda Rosa with Gate One Travel. So we know that it's we've got a lot of hope out there. Travel is slowly starting, which is very exciting. So this is the perfect time while you're still waiting to go ahead and polish off those resumes, sharpen those interviewing skills. So we're going to go ahead and ask them these pressing questions. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the panel first, what are the top mistakes that you actually, I'm going to interrupt myself. I got excited with the questions. Let's back up just 1 minute. So some of you may know these tour operators and some of you may not. So for our panelists, for Tara, Jeremy, Tanya, Karen, and Lynn, for those that haven't gotten to know you, can you just go around and tell me just a little bit of a brief intro? Let me know the companies that you work with or have worked with in the past. And who do you hire for? Do you hire local step-on guides? Do you hire for driver guides, for over-the-road tour directors, maybe domestic and or international? Let me know. Tara, you'd like to go first?
Sure. Thank you, Amy. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I work for Rick Steves Europe. We only specialize in European travel, and we look at everybody. So when we get a resume or a CV and a cover letter in, we take and review everything and see if it'll be a good match. My role at Rick Steves is I'm a guide trainer along with my colleague Ben Cameron, and I also do emergency and incident management and coaching and recruitment and interviews. So I'm a guide as well. And so we take on a big role with that and more of a tour guide aspect, I guess, than a tour director. We give a lot of the history and we're really, really involved.
Tara, thank you. That's great. Jeremy?
Absolutely. So Jeremy Hunt with Holiday Vacations. I have my fingers on a few things on the operations side as well as in our product development area. Started as a tour director with the company, so that's where my heart is. And my favorite part of my position is definitely supporting our tour director team out there. And we contract out as far as, we don't hire for driver guides to contract out that piece, but certainly in terms of tour directors, we definitely are open to anyone that has the right skill set. Personality shines, as I always like to say, and our tour directors, what's maybe a little unique is rather than specializing in one area, might go maybe 1 month you're in Colorado, the next month maybe you're in Italy. And certainly there are different roles for our domestic trips versus international.
Thanks, Jeremy. Tanya?
Hi, everybody. It's good to see you guys. I started a tour company, Wolf Adventures and Tours, in 2002. I went to ITMI in 2002, and I did what I was told, and I went down and I registered, and I owned myself, so to speak. I started out as a local guide. and over the road for other tour companies while I still did some other things with my own company. And it just kind of grew from there. So we're based just north of Boston. And so we do local guiding in New England area, over the road in New England. And we have our own student tours, our own adult tours. And then we also step behind the scenes as a receptive, or we might also provide tour directors or tour guides for other tour companies that are looking for specialists in the New England area. But we do tours all along the East Coast mostly. It's all customized. So we've gone to Kenya and Ireland as well when we've had repeat groups that have wanted to do a few things. We go that route too. Anything else I should?
No, that was great. Thanks, Tanya. Karen.
Sorry, was that Karen, me?
Yeah, Karen, go for it.
Great. Hello, hi everybody. I'm Karen with Land Sea Tours and Adventures. I'm the general manager of Land Sea, and we're based out of Vancouver, Canada. We hire for driver guides, so we use mini coaches, and our drivers will do the commentary and the sightseeing for that. We have been around for 35 years, and we do day tours to Victoria, Vancouver, Whistler, the North Shore. My relationship with ITMI started when I worked for Scenic Luxury Cruises and Tours, and we were hiring over-the-road tour directors. So programs anywhere from 1 week to 28 days up to 2 months if they did an East Coast combo. And we would go all over the world, but my role with Scenic was to oversee the operations for North America. And I just loved my the people I met at ITMI and the work they do, and I'm a huge fan of it. And what was it in 2019? I think it was 2019, Joan and the team came up to Vancouver to do a segment of the training school for locals in Vancouver, which was amazing. And I loved helping out and being a part of that too. So I'm a big fan of it, and it's great that you guys are all here. Great to see you. Thanks for tuning in virtually.
Thanks, Karen. And last but definitely not least, Lynn, bring us home. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Linda Rosa, and I've been working for Gate One for 7 years. I've been in the travel industry for 20. Currently, I'm the operations manager for North America. I hire all the tour managers for adult over-the-road tours. We are actively, of course, looking for tour managers. So show me what you got today.
Nice, good fun, Lynn. So thank you guys for letting me digress a little bit there so they could get to know you more. So our first question for our panel. What are the top mistakes that you see people make most often when sending in their resume?
So I'll jump in and just say, I think grammar definitely stands out for me personally, because I think, if a person hasn't spent adequate time really in carefully crafting their resume, that speaks to me. And the other thing too is if it's too long or too short. If it's more than 2 pages, I know my counterpart in HR, she won't even look at it. It kind of goes in the file bin, never to be seen. And the same thing, if for me also, if it doesn't have enough detail in there, the resume formats are always great to see destinations that everyone's been to. But I also like to know, if there's something in a person's background, aside from guiding and where they've been and destinations, that might really elevate you. It's definitely worth considering having that on your resume as well.
I'm gonna, if I may, I'm gonna also say that too, Jeremy, because if you have experience that's not technically tour guiding or tour directing, it's all right to put that on your resume, because that can lead to skills and lead to experiences that would be very, very comparable to tour guiding and being out on the road. Anything that you've done with customer service, with people, it's good to put on there. So don't think twice about it, not putting it on there. And then I would say too, just make sure that if you're detailing, say in an email, and which is great to do, and to make sure the names are right, like the people that you're talking to and emailing, make sure their name is right and spelled correctly, and also the company. So if you're going that detailed, which is great, just make sure that you redo it each time, because it's easy to miss sometimes too.
I'd like to echo what Jeremy and Tanya also said. It's so true with the spelling. I think the one area we'll be forgiving with spelling is if it's a European guide coming in, because kudos for them, it's their second language. I can overlook that, but usually they're pretty savvy that they'll have someone who has a first language or very, very good at the English language to proofread that. Another thing that really amazes me, like Jeremy and Tanya spoke to, is that with our tours, our tour guides do a lot of history and a lot of talking on the bus, and we supplement with local guides. So if I see a cover letter or a story that's too long, it makes me wonder, are these guides going to be too winded? If it's too short, do they not know what to fill in the gaps or what they're talking about? And also, what really gets me that might go in the trash bin is if someone hands me, we only do European tours, so do your homework. Always do your homework and come in there with gusto. I'm amazed with how many people will send in a CV or cover letter about Asia. I just got one now about Asia, and we're only European tours. It's like if you go to our website, all your answers are there. So we kind of expect that you're going to know what you're talking about and what you're submitting. That's one of the first steps. Know who you're talking to, and make a CV and a cover letter that's different for everybody. You know, I want to see something that's quirky, that shines for my company versus some another company that something else might fit in better with them.
I definitely agree with everything everybody has said, but certainly know the company that you're applying for. There is nothing worse than having somebody apply for something that totally doesn't fit. Immediately, that one's going to the side. And there has to be life in your cover letter. There has to be something that jumps out, makes me say, hey, I could really love this person already. That's important. Spelling, absolutely. Know what you're looking for. I'm good.
Okay, next question. So very similar. So what are the top mistakes that you see people make most often during an interview?
The one that sticks out for me is when you want to tell me how much you love to travel. I love that you love to travel. However, I'm not taking you on a vacation. You're giving the vacation. I would much rather hear how you feel about people and just be yourself and be charismatic.
I totally agree with you, Lynn, on that. That is probably my biggest pet peeve when you ask a person in an interview why do they want this job, or why do you want to work for our company, and they say, well, I love to travel. It also comes across as just a very canned, generic response, right? So, you know, we're looking for more. Give us some meat, you know, tell us, give us a little indication into who you really are and what inspires you about travel, how you're going to inspire your guests in terms of travel. And I think too, you know, sometimes you can have, there's a lot of strong personalities out there in terms of tour directors, and that's great. We need that, but I think it's understanding a balance. Sometimes we'll have somebody come in and the term I always use is hijacking the interview, where maybe they're coming across a little too aggressive, not taking social cues. And, you know, of course, in this profession, you have to be able to take direction, but you also have to understand when to be in charge, and also when to take a back seat in the case of, let's say, a step-on guide is on the motor coach and that kind of a thing. So the roles can vary, and being completely in tune and prepared for that and understanding that is important. And I think also certainly arriving late for an interview. And one thing we always say in our training when we bring new people on board is, if you're on time, you're late, right? And that's really important. It's critical in our industry. But also arriving too early for the interview can be a mistake too. Sometimes we've had people that'll show up 5 minutes early. That's probably a little bit too early to show up for an interview.
I'm going to say, while we're not a big company, you asking me what we do might not be the best question, because then It's rare that it happens, but when it does, then I find myself explaining what we do. And I feel like even at an ITMI, you know, at the symposium, you've got the little blurb, it says what we're looking for. And granted, you know, we're in the middle of updating our website and such too, but I would just ask other people maybe first, instead of asking the person that you're interviewing with, like, what they do.
I would say also, when you come into an interview, know your stuff, but be humble. Because more likely, the people that are interviewing you do know what they're talking about. I know at Rick Steves, we have a couple interview phases, and I do the first one. It's usually over Zoom or the phone, and getting to know that person. I'm asking all kinds of questions. How do you handle an emergency? How are you going to what response would you have for a tour member? We call them tour members, our clients, that goes sideways. How would you calm someone down? How do you see this person? And we do a role play, because I want to see how they're going to answer and how they're going to act towards our people that travel with us. I also might ask, give me a quick talk on this. This is your specialty that I see. And I want to know, do they know the history? And it might be something with Germany. We know I mentor a lot in different countries. So I know a lot about the countries. I guide in Germany and have been for 18 years. So it's like, I want to know what you know. I agree with Jeremy, not that, you know, everybody likes to travel, so do I. But what do you know about that, and how do you envision yourself? And I've had some people that just don't know how to answer that, or they're pretty aggressive. Another thing quickly also is, don't put down other companies that you've worked for. I know several people that are awesome guides. I know a lot in ITMI that go out to other tours, and they're stellar people. And I don't want to hear anything negative about them. Even if it was a bad situation, I don't want to hear it. I just think that's really disrespectful. So that will go into the bin right away. That'll end the interview.
I'm going to add one other topic to this. Agree with everyone, and really great insights about that. But remember, travel and tourism is not all about fun and games. There really is an emotional intelligence to this. And your interview process is about connecting with that company and that gatekeeper that you're trying to connect with. So what Tara said about being thoughtful and saying the right things. So one of the things that I like to see as well too, and we know you're going to be a dynamic personality because you're drawn to this industry. So what I like to think about is there a thoughtful approach in the discussion? So for example, you know, are you going to be wild and out there and really loud and boisterous, or are you going to have some content and thoughtful approach to why you would maybe say that? Again, things that I like to see when I'm speaking to somebody is, do I know they have the skill set? You know, I will ask them example questions of how would you manage this scenario, which is common sense, but it's also you're thinking through the process, because you are your own manager when you're on the road with the guests. So we are trusting you to be able to lead those guests effectively and safely and calmly when your coach breaks down, or something doesn't show up, or an attraction is closed because it happens to be a holiday and maybe that was missed. So a thoughtful approach in your discussion. The other advice I would maybe give is always loop back to your key strengths on your resume. I look at hundreds of resumes, and I will probably spend about 30 seconds on a resume looking for the key things that stand out for me to give you the opportunity. A resume gets your foot in the door. You, when you're connecting with that individual as you're speaking, is going to be referencing the strengths from that resume. So know your stuff. And as you're speaking, really bring those things back. When we were doing the introductions earlier, I have a colleague from my past Scenic Live that says, oh, I'm looking forward to hear what you have to say. Her name is Rhonda. And you know what got Rhonda in the door for her when we were interviewing her for Scenic, probably 18 years ago now, Rhonda, it was a long time ago that we met you, she was a Girl Guide leader, and she referenced that. And do you know how much passion and how much you have to give to be a leader of young women? It was incredible. So that's what got her in the door, and she spoke to that, and that's very impressive. So make sure you're speaking about the strengths on your resume to make you stand out during the conversation as well too.
That's a really good point, Karen. I was just going to add one thing to that. You know, at Holiday, we do 2-day interviews when we finally narrow down that group into a smaller group of folks, and we invite them to come to our office. And there are the interviews happening 24/7. People don't always realize it, but it is, right? So if you're inviting the group to a mixer in the evening, we fully expect everyone to be there. I had someone in the last round in 2019 that eliminated themselves from consideration because, you know, he approached me during one of the breaks during the official interview process during the day and said, oh, I'm not going to be able to make the mixer tonight, so I just want to let you know because I have friends in town and I'm going to get together with them. And, you know, again, it's like, what level of commitment do you have? You know, everyone should be 110% trying to put their best foot forward. So that interview process is because, you know, as Karen said, what kind of decision-making processes are you going to be thinking through out on the road? And so that's exactly where my head went right away. It's okay, you know, you're working autonomously out there, and we need to be fully confident in those abilities and that decision making.
So to Jeremy's point, the mixers are for just that, the mixers. We're looking to see how you mingle with everyone. We're not looking for a one-on-one interview. You have that time already, or you'll have that later. How do you move around the crowd? Can you socialize? Did you dress the part? Don't drink too much. Not a good point while we're all standing there at the mixers watching.
Excellent, Lynn. Those are all some great tips. Thank you to our panelists. So we talked a little bit before about grammar, but are there any other like briefly quick turnoffs that automatically get your resume or cover letter into your trash can immediately?
Well, usually if they're addressed to the wrong person, that's one for me.
I would
Yeah.
say I can see it being generic. If it's generic approach, that shows me they're not putting an effort in, and that's going to be an indication of how they approach the guests on our tours.
I agree. If it's generic, we'll put it away, because the same thing as Karen had said, I go through and I look, what do they have for us? What do they have to offer to us? What is their specialty? And if it's just all of these, a list of every different place that you go or you could cover, that doesn't speak to me, because with our company, we specialize in certain tours. We don't send everybody everywhere. Everyone is an expert in that country they're going to be guiding. So again, it's like, do your homework. But if it comes into me generically, I just don't have time for it, because it kind of tells me that you might not specialize in something. It just might be surface stuff.
I would just also add that just be honest with your experiences and with what you're doing, because there's a good chance that, you know, we might know you. And then if you say something that we kind of know, well, that might not be exactly the truth there. I would just be honest with it. I mean, if you don't speak German, then don't say you speak German on your resume. But if it's conversational, put that down. If you can do a meet and greet with it, that's totally different than being able to do a tour, for instance.
You know, the thing that always gets my attention as well is unprofessional email addresses. Certainly I see those from time to time, or, you know, again, it's all image, right? It's putting your best foot forward. And so I fully expect emails to be coming from email addresses that are very professional appearing, rather than seeming maybe inappropriate, is not the word, but maybe too casual, or something that, again, just doesn't resonate with me as being professional. So that's definitely one. And then the other thing is sometimes, and I know there's excitement and everyone's eager to have those conversations. I always appreciate that. But sometimes the emails kind of come rapid fire pretty quickly after the resume does. So I'd say that's something to be careful of. You know, a follow-up a bit of time later is always a good sign, but it can go the wrong direction quickly.
Okay, great. Next question. If you had to give one piece of advice, finish this sentence. If they really want to work for my company, I only wish they would
Act naturally. I want to know who they are. I don't want somebody standing up there being phony, because that's only going to last for a few minutes. Be yourself. That's who I'm sending out on the road.
I would say do their homework. I think Lynn said that earlier too. That's a big one.
I would say just say that, like say that I'd really like to work with you. I feel like we're a great fit with here. I see that you do this. Like everybody is saying, just be yourself and you go with it.
I agree. Do your homework, look at the websites, know who you're going to talk to, know what they're about, and have empathy. Show that you care about the people that you're going to be guiding, because we're giving them to you in your care, and it's our company. And we're hoping that you're, like for me, I hope that they're going to convey the history, they're going to convey the empathy, they're going to show everyone a local feel like Rick would want that. Because that's just very important that they honor that and they go into it. And I think empathy and just being able to talk to people who might be scared to travel, open up new doors to them and convey that back to us as well. So.
I would say I want to see some type of professional designation. Well, showing me that you studied in the domain that you're interested in, because a lot of people will think, anyone can be a tour director, and there's so much more to it than just leading a group of people. And at least it shows me if you get your ITMI designation or you come from some sort of professional school that teaches you in tourism and travel, I can teach you the rest, and I can lay the foundation for the guidelines and the principles of my company that I would like you to follow. But showing me that you're really interested, especially, and this is why I liked ITMI, because it also helped. It gave you the tools to transition maybe from other industries. I know when I was with Scenic, I would have a lot of people applying to me, but because my company at the time was a little bit more high end, I needed people with experience. So, I would say go do your student tours and then maybe come back to me in a couple of years after you have a few years of guiding experience under your belt. But again, showing me that you're interested in your domain shows me that you're pretty serious about the business, because we all take it very seriously in our roles as well too.
That says so much. I remember once Ben and I had interviewed a wonderful woman, and she had trained with ITMI. She was stellar, and she had a lot of experience domestically. She was Dutch, domestically, and also abroad, but she really designed her cover letter, her CV, her knowledge to the questions we were asking and how they fit in with Rick Steves. So I was really impressed with how she could convey what she had learned from ITMI and kind of siphoning it into what we needed. And we learned so much from her as well.
If I may, while I'm still remembering this, even before, when I worked for a large tour company before 9/11 happened, I used to always say, and I still believe this, that guides and tour directors are probably the most important person that has to do with the tour. I mean, you can sell it, you've got to have that, going on, but you're the face of the company. You're the face of the everything that has to do with what the company's ideals are and how they treat people. And so it's really important to make sure that you jive with the company. So if you're maybe not aligned with it, you can say, you know what, maybe that's not the best thing. Maybe this isn't the best fit. I know somebody else that would be great for you guys. And you've got your own niche. So I think just remember that what you're doing is very, very, very important.
I totally agree with you. The person who is out on the road with our most precious cargo, the guests, because if there's no guests, there's nobody out on the road. You have to be everything.
Perfect. So thank you everyone. I love that. What stands out in a big pile of resumes or a cover letter that makes you want to immediately email or reach out by phone? What's that thing that says, oh my gosh, I need to know more?
Personality. I like to see a cover letter that's professional, but yet has some insight and flair, because I feel like if they can write that, I just want to get to know them more. And then they can convey that to me in person. I know that they'll probably do a fantastic job on the road. I think it's a lot of insight in how they'll guide and how they'll be with people. So I really like it when they just kind of go out of the box and they can be a bit quirky and just tell us some fun stuff and experiences.
I love when they're fun, they're quirky, and they tell me what destinations are what they're best at, not where they want to go. I hold those all aside in destination piles for that need.
Yeah, I was going to say on the destinations, that's a big one for me. It's certainly the destinations that we go to, there's 80 plus of them around the globe, but I'm looking at that to see how that aligns, certainly. And the more detailed, the better, because eventually, if I don't have that up front, I'm going to be asking for it. I want to know not only the destinations the person's visited, but how many times have they been there? When were they there? How long were you there? Details, give me details. Where did you go? What did you do while you were there? And then I also like to know, was that on a industry business trip or was this personal travel? Because that makes a difference too.
Amy showed the video at the beginning, and how do you stand out amongst a pile of papers, for everyone vying for a handful of jobs? If you can do a video, what a wonderful thing to do. We asked at Lancy, show us what you have, submit a video. I was with the company for 3 years before obviously things have taken a backseat because of the pandemic, but we had one lady, and she was a mature lady, and she submitted a video of her, and seeing her warmth and her personality conveyed. And she had to do some convincing because she maybe wasn't your typical approach to it to a driver guide, but she did an incredible job, and that got her foot in the door more. And the more we got to connect with her, the more we loved her. So it really is about standing out. And if you can do something a little bit different by showing a type of video that's really specific to that company, that's pretty impressive. It's harder to do for sure, but very impressive. But it also shows your commitment level and that you've really taken some time to tailor make that video for that particular company.
There's nothing.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's nothing better than looking at one of those videos and feeling like you're in the moment with the video, like the person is talking to me.
Yeah, I agree too. And I'm going to say, ironically, timing kind of plays into things sometimes too. So we do student tours in the springtime. And if we've got 10 guides and 10 tour directors, but 10 guys that we need for Boston, and somebody cancels out, or, I'm going to tell you that sometimes timing helps out. And so if you kind of know when your company that you are applying for, when they hire, maybe like find that out and determine that and connect there. And also keep connecting, not a lot, but keep connecting. If you've got an update to your resume, say you've gotten a guide license for DC, or say you've done another trip, let us know. I'm good for updating.
I echo that. That reminds me of some of the guides that have sent CVs into us, and it's been through connection. They almost make it, but someone else kind of comes up on top, but it doesn't mean we want to give up on them. So we actually will let them know, this is some stuff you can do, some homework for you over the year, and then let's check back in. And there was one that did all her homework. She's amazing. She's amazing. And we hired her now this past year. And others just don't. So it kind of speaks to me on how much do they really want to be with the company and how much do they want to guide with us.
So kind of a follow-up question. We touched a little bit on these intro videos, and this is something that we've been recommending for, I think, almost about 6 into 7 years now. So just kind of a brief intro video. How do you feel about the brief intro videos? What do you like to see? So what might be a successful one? What might get you unhired on that video? And is there a target length?
For Rick Steves, we like to see videos of people guiding. So we have a lot of European tour guides, but even in the States, if you can send something from past experiences or even around your hometown to give us an idea of how you are guiding. I watch some guides now who do virtual tours because of the pandemic, and it really speaks to me. Even our own guides, it's like, oh, you might want to work a little on this. But if they can guide and they can show me what they're doing, that kind of gives me some insight on how they might be with people, and just fun things to show their personality as well. We don't really like it going way outside the box, but show me something that's fun and how you guide and how you would convey that information. Usually about 2 to 3 minutes is what we ask for.
2 to 3 minutes is great. Somebody with something lively, fun, little bit of scenery, some sort of talent behind it. Don't come out with a quirky outfit on. Show me that like after you've been working for me for 3-4 years, and you know that's what you do at the farewell dinner or something, but don't bring it in that first video.
I agree that 2 to 3 minutes is great. That's just the right, I think, mix. Think of it just like with resumes. There is too long and there's too short on the videos in the same regard as resumes. So I'm in agreement on that. 2 to 3 minutes is great, just enough to give us, and if you can have a hook at the beginning of your video to really get our attention, I always appreciate that. Creativity is a good thing. Yeah, but certainly keeping it professional too, as Lynn was saying.
And you know what, when you send in those resumes, please don't send in all of your last tour comments. Though you may think that we want to read them when we get those 18 pages of all the past guest comments, we really don't.
Any last thoughts on the little intro videos? Oh, good. Okay. Do you? I'll ask a quick question. I think this is a given, but do you prefer a video intro that is tailored specifically to your company?
Yes.
I agree. I think, you know, if you really want to stand out, that's a good way to do it. Just like with resumes and cover letters, what was said earlier, you want to customize them. So it is, you know, I think it shows, again, interest in the company you're applying for by tailoring it, customizing it, and that extra effort is definitely appreciated.
I agree. You treat it as you would a CV or a cover letter. It's just live on video. You know, don't give me something for a different type of company that wants a different kind of guide. Give us something that Rick would want, or our company would want, or I'd want to see. And I love the idea of a hook as well. Just like with your cover letter, have something that's going to draw me in, because we look, you know, we look through tons. And after a while, it's just your eyes start to cross. Sometimes I have to give myself a break, but if I have that one thing that draws me in, that excites me for the rest of the day and want to get a hold of that person. So with video or cover letter, CVs, you know, treat them like each other and design it.
Yeah, I think those are all valid points, and everything makes sense. I haven't watched a lot of videos for hiring, but I will admit that if I still go out on the road because as a guide and as a tour director, because I want to still stay relevant and stay on top of what's going on. And I will say that I do pay attention to what other tour directors and what other guides are doing and how they're interacting with their groups.
Excellent. My advice has always been to any tour directors and guides who are wanting to work for your company, that if they are not willing to spend 10 to 15 to 20 minutes researching your company, doing a personal cover letter, looking up what is your company mission and vision, how did you start, what's new in the news, if you're not willing to do a tailored interview question, why would you expect these amazing people to pick up the phone and spend an equal amount of time getting to know you? So thank you for echoing that. I love that. Jeremy, did you have some last thoughts? Or
yeah, you know, just to follow up on one thing in the videos, there have been some really good videos I've seen over the last few years, and obviously those have become more common, and not having them tailored doesn't necessarily rule you out. But again, just to clarify, if you've tailored it, it certainly will give you a boost, right? And the other thing I would say that hasn't been discussed yet, for me personally, I always appreciate a personal handwritten thank you after the interview, because that's not so common anymore. You know, it used to be, but it's really not these days. So when, again, it shows that extra effort and a little bit of personalization. So when someone's taken the time to do that, as opposed to just sending a thank you email, that always stands out to me.
Jeremy, you
I'll
magically
echo that.
segued. Oh, sorry, Tanya. I was gonna say you magically segued into my next question. So let's go with that. What are, that was perfect. What are some professional and respectful practices when a tour director or guide is following up after either sending in a resume or having an interview, so it's not to pester? So professional persistence, what's the fine line? What's the fine line there on following up?
I'm going to echo what Jeremy said with regards to just a really quick, great to talk with you, because I do keep those and I put them with the resumes.
Well, from my perspective as well too, especially when I was hiring from the ITMI, group of graduates, sometimes, I had persistent, students, but they weren't quite ready for my company yet. I needed more experience. So I would look at their follow-up, I would look at my interaction, and sometimes it took them 2 or 3 seasons to finally break down the barriers, or I was ready for their destination or their experience or whatever that was. And so professional persistence. Jeremy mentioned that he likes a handwritten letter. While it is very thoughtful and amazing, it also is snail mail and it takes a long time to get there. And I know in my instance, it can be pretty competitive and we have to hire fast. So maybe while that is very thoughtful and great, it's also going to take, especially if I'm in Canada and you're in the States, or maybe you're in Europe and you have to send it to the USA. Maybe you take a picture of it and say, this is coming in the mail for you. And then it's a double hit and whammy, because things move pretty fast sometimes in our industry. And while we would love the luxury of having, weeks between hiring, sometimes you just don't have that, right? So I would like it a little bit quicker myself, and I want to know that you enjoyed the conversation and reflect back on that a bit. And I will keep those much like Tanya said. I'll look at all my interactions I had with that person. It's very easy to do in this day and age. And if I have a nice long list, I'll look at it all and see that they were respectful. And that shows me that you're very interested in our business, and I appreciate that.
That's a cool
I
idea,
agree.
Karen. Yeah.
I agree so much with that. And I love the handwritten thank you note too, because I was raised that way. It's like, as soon as you get something, you get that thank you note out in the mail, and you can't do anything else until that's done. But I also appreciate a kind email thank you, because I just know it's so true. Things go so quickly. When we start doing our guide schedule at Rick Steves, we are looking right now, we're even looking at what are the gaps going to be with people moving on because of the pandemic. We say we're not hiring right now, but once we start filling in the tour guide slots, we may need people. So, we're going to be moving at a quick pace to get people trained. And in our interview process, it's me, and then I pass on my write-up to my colleague, Ben. Ben interviews with HR. It's guides who are interviewing you. So we like to see, what did you like out of that interview? What stood out to you? Something that's kind, and just give us a reminder again, of what it is that you are great at, what brings you to us, what is your expertise. My specialty with Rick Steves is German tours. I also know Bavaria because I live there. My family's from Bavaria. So someone brings up Bavaria and they're talking about the beer history and everything. Oh yeah, I remember that person. Or something with Italy, or something with the arts. Make sure to put that in, because we see a lot. I usually know, but like everyone has spoken to, I put that in also, like Karen said, in with the CVs and all their information. We keep information for our guides from start to end, from when we hire on and the training process.
So a lot of times when I'm reading the resumes and then I go back over them, I will re-email myself, put the name in the subject line, save them all together in a little file. I know that I've interviewed you. We've talked about maybe something we have in common. I'll write those in the comments. So when you do come back and say, hey, are you interested? Do you have a spot for me? Remember, we talked about this. I'm actually, as we're on the phone, pulling up your name to see what everything was. So I know that you cared about the interview, and I cared enough to take some notes. Makes the difference.
Okay, excellent. So I want to circle back a little bit. We were talking about resumes, and obviously you said, you know, travel is great to have that on there, but there might be a lot of people that don't realize some of their transferable skills. So what are some of those transferable skills or industries that really strengthen a resume? Obviously, if someone is coming with 20 years of guiding experience, don't worry, you guys are going to be fine. But what about those brand new graduates or people new to the industry? And maybe they have very limited guiding or tour directing experience. What are you looking for transferable skills that jump off the page?
I'd say anything with customer service or working with people.
Mm-hmm. Definitely teachers. They're used to structure. They have some history or skill.
I think there's a lot of things, you know, when you think about tour directing, there's so many skills required. You have to be a very well-rounded person, right? So, you know, maybe even something in healthcare, maybe you've been in nursing before, you know, certainly that can be a huge benefit, just having that extra knowledge base. I mean, there's so many things in terms of transferable skills to customer service. Definitely anything, what do we do out there? It's problem solving, right? And so anything that would maybe reflect your ability to problem solve is definitely a good thing as well.
I would also add, I had a gentleman one time that had come from a military background, and while, you know, he liked structure and would be a rule follower, probably had, you know, could get up, you know, at early hours. What he also had to show me, though, that maybe he was a bit more warm and fuzzy. So while you might have transferable skills that are completely appropriate to certain parts of our industry and business, make sure the ones that maybe aren't as obvious. And same with healthcare. Yes, you have to have a good bedside manner, but you also might be a bit more of a stoic approach, because you kind of have to have that when you're caring with sick people. So, you know, make sure that you pull out the skills or qualities and really try to demonstrate that, if that's maybe not as apparent in your transferable skills. Because it's very important for us to see, well, yes, you might be able to have those transferable skills. What are the extra little things that you might have to add? Because you could be organized, you could be disciplined, you know, bring out that warm and fuzzy a little bit too.
I agree with Karen. I want to hear about the personality. I know, you know, I handle emergencies and incidents, and we coach. We go out in the field, and we'll jump on tours, and we'll coach guides that might need a little help. I think even if guides have experience, they should hone in and always continue to study. I want to see what they've done. I like teachers. I like healthcare workers. Like, I'm a psychology and sociology. I have degrees in that myself. But I like to know how their personality is as well, and how they apply that. Not just the guiding stuff, but do you have understanding? Do you have patience? Do you have empathy? Can you look at that person and they might just be a bit grumpy? You know, I always find it. And can you take on that challenge? Are you a person who wants a challenge? Because when I look at a person and they might be a bit grumpy, I'm like, oh, here we go. But then now I kind of flip it around and say, okay, she's going to be, or he's going to be my challenge for this tour. That they're going to be my thing that I'm going to overcome. And I want to get to know them. So how do you interact with that person? How are you an extrovert kindly and not too much with that person, and getting to know them and kind of turn it around? Because maybe something happened at their house before they got there. Maybe it's their first time over and they're scared. With the pandemic, you know, we're looking at that at Rick Steves right now. Once we're out touring, I suspect things will be the same, but they won't with certain aspects. We might have a hardy group that go out with us at first, but what might be that moment that could trigger someone with their COVID background? You know, you never know what might trigger it when they're out traveling. They try to leave stuff behind, but they bring it back. They can bring it on tour, and something could just trigger something you don't know about. So getting to know that person is very, very important, I think, in putting those skills forward.
Sarah, thank you. I'm going to wrap up with our very last question. This is a question that makes tour directors and guides a little weak in the knees sometimes. So, and then after that, I'm going to turn it over to Yasmin. So with some amazing updates. So last question, what is your favorite interview question when you're interviewing them on Zoom, Skype, on the phone, or in person? Do you have a favorite interview question?
I'll jump in and say, there's a lot of standard interview questions, and I was trying to find something. So I just, drafted a question that checked the boxes of what I was looking for, that to give, again, a window into the person's personality, but also their, who they are, what's the essence of this person. And so for me, the question that is my favorite, which is of the following characteristics, which is the most important and why? And then I have some questions or some words listed: adaptability, humility, flexibility, integrity. All important characteristics, right? We know that. But which one would you say is the most important? Why? It just opens a big door for a lot of discussion and insight into the person, I think.
I might steal that, Jeremy.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah,
too.
no problem. You're welcome to.
I hope everyone is taking notes. This is going to be the new interview question. Excellent. Any other favorite interview questions?
I have two that I like to ask. One of them is, and Lynn and I would do a ton of roundtable interviews at ITMI, which we loved, but I often ask this one, was besides commentary, what else would you do on your tour? We know that commentary is the #1 thing, but to me, that's just one small part of what they're offering to the guests. And I like to hear what people come up with. So think about that, because it shows how over and above are you going to go to prepare for your tour, which can be very, very long, and commentary is only one part of it. The other thing I like to ask is a scenario question. So I talk about maybe your vehicle breaking down, you're out of cell range, your guests are getting nervous, you're falling behind on your tour. What would you do? And what's always interesting for me is to hear the thought process of the people and what initially first comes out of the mouth. Is it more of a people approach, or is it a mechanical approach? And then from there to hear their thought process of, well, maybe I'd flag someone down. Are they working in tandem with your driver as well too? Because your driver is a wonderful resource to support how you approach a scenario as well too on an over the road tour. So those are two ones that I really like as well too, because I hear a thought process and what's their approach? Is it a guest focus, or is it more of a sort of organizational approach?
How they envision themselves in a role with Rick Steves and our company. I also agree with Jeremy's perspective as well. I like to throw out questions that show, would they be humble? Do they know their stuff? And integrity is a big one, because we put them out there and we trust that they're going to do the job well. Handling emergencies and stuff, I also throw scenarios. I like scenarios. And I want to know how they can think, because I think even if you're new to the job, I think it's something that you can, even if it takes a while for them to explain, I want to see the wheels turning. We usually do it with Zoom, or I just, want to hear what they might do, even if they're new, because it also speaks to me, like, do I want to work with them? Because I'm the first one who's called when there's an emergency. How are they going to handle this? So scenarios, I like questions with integrity, and like, what is a day like to you as a guide, and how do you envision this working out if you're in this role?
So my two favorite questions, of course, learned from Karen, because we did do interviews together. Thank you, Karen. Is what would you do if, and what hidden talent? So when you answer, when I say, what would you do if, and I give you a scenario and you say, call the office. Well, that's not a good answer. So keep that for reference. And when I ask about that hidden talent, do not be afraid to get up and show me it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everyone. I want to give just another fantastic round of applause to Jeremy Hunt with Holiday Vacations, with Tanya Wolf with Wolf Adventures and Tours, Karen Lewis with Land and Sea, and Linda Rosa with Gate 1 Travel. Thank you again. And I will now turn it over to Yasmin. Yasmin, go for it.
Oh, wow. What an incredible session. Thank you so much again, Tara and Karen and Jeremy and Tanya and Lynn. What amazing insights that you shared today. And so you brought so much value to our community. So thank you so much. I just want to take a quick 30 seconds and share with our community a wonderful new resource that we're getting ready to launch next week. You guys are the first to get a sneak peek at this, and we'll launch it next week. But what it is one of the biggest challenges is that we have is finding out various different tour guiding job opportunities that are out there. And so over the last month, we've been working on developing a resource for you to be able to quickly identify and locate these opportunities, as well as for tour operators to be able to share these opportunities as they come up. So I'm going to quickly share my screen and give you a quick sneak peek. And if you're interested in getting notified when this resource is being launched, then I'm going to drop a link right now in the chat box so that you can sign up. But let me show you what we've got coming up. It's a great little website, and what we've done is we've gone through and we found all these different tour guiding jobs from initially right now across America, but we'll be adding some international opportunities as well. And what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to zoom in and identify various different opportunities that are out there and click on them, and you'll be able to get the details for them. You'll also be able to go through and filter it down to, let's say, adventure guiding jobs, or maybe you're doing driver guiding opportunities. You can quickly find that, as well as search for them in based on various different criteria. So that's just a quick sneak peek, and to let you guys know that we'll be launching this next week. And if you're interested in getting onto the list and getting notified so that you can access it, it'll be a free resource for everyone. And we look forward to sharing this with you and helping you find and connect with the right companies to really share your gifts. And again, thank you all for being here today, and also our panelists. And going to hand it back to Amy.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And thanks, Yasmin, for sharing. We're super excited. And yes, for those of you asking, will there be jobs in Canada and Europe? And so, yes, it's going to go live. We're just starting here. And yes, absolutely. And it's also open to everyone. You do not have to be ITMI. So if you're ITMI, fantastic. If you are not, and you came into the business organically, that is great. So it'll be open to everyone. You guys can go ahead and opt in. So again, special thanks to our panelists. Thank you, everyone in the chat. You inspired some fantastic follow-up questions. So thank you so much. And we will see you guys back in a couple of weeks on May 5th. It'll be a little happy Cinco de Mayo. Study hall here is going to take a 2-week spring break. I don't know where it's going. Hopefully somewhere fun. Hopefully it's got its vaccine, but we'll see you guys back in a couple of weeks. Look for details. And with that, see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.